Always forward.
All right, so I'm not able to type yet. Or am I? No.
Click the chat button.
Maybe.
Nah, no joy here.
Or am I? No.
Click the chat button.
Maybe.
Nah, no joy here.
Yeah, chat's not live yet.
Or am I? No.
Click the chat button.
All right, you got your you just got through, John.
Yeah, I did it actually on the YouTube channel. Yeah, chat's not live yet.
Or am I? No. Click the chat button. All right, you got your you just got through, John.
Yeah, I did it. There's a little bit of a delay, and then people type it on YouTube until it hits here. So,
Just gonna give it a few minutes, let some people get in here.
All right. People are already signing in. This is cool.
While we're waiting, Chris, you can go ahead and talk about the 40th anniversary of One Shepherd coming up.
Yeah, sure will. So obviously this is a landmark moment for our institution. Started in May of 1981. And so this fall, we decided to wait till fall for many different reasons. We're doing the regimental celebration of that. It's a normal fall semester, meaning that we will be out there for 7 days. But the FTX is just ginormous. It's roughly 4 times what we're normally used to supporting and accommodating. Going to be just a lot of fun. We have several different vendors. You'll know of some of these vendors. You've heard of them before. S&S Training Solution is supporting Klein Machining. They, in addition to doing great AR, what do they call it? The ARPKs and stuff. In addition to doing that, they also have Miles 2000 gear. And so we've got several different vendors supporting this, including CMTC there in Central Missouri. But the big surprise this time around is that we've got the Heritage Foundation, Aviation Unit Vietnam Reenacting is going to be flying Hueys in for us. So we'll be doing air assault insertions into the FTX. So just look for a lot of footage, look for a lot of video coverage and all sorts of promotional stuff from there. We're going to squeeze it for everything it's worth. But no, it's a huge undertaking and it's a fantastic honor. Really looking forward to celebrating this here in 5 weeks now, right? Just under 5 weeks. We'll be out there in Central Missouri, bringing in the 40th year, completing the 40th year of our service. So for the Leadership Institute.
Outstanding. All right, so we got about 54 folks in here now. So I'll go ahead and go around the horn and introduce everybody. So first and foremost, I got Bruce. Everybody knows Bruce. He's been in like 100 of my videos, and he's pretty much a sidekick. But he pretty much is going to be bringing the civilian perspective to us tonight. And yeah, he's got a long, extensive history of working in working on aircraft and just bringing that civilian perspective to us. So I think Bruce definitely has a lot to contribute here. Moving on, we got John, UW Gear. So, and let me reiterate, guys, everybody on here right now has their own respective YouTube channel. So be sure to go to their respective YouTube channel and make sure you subscribe, okay? But John's been doing the YouTube gig for many years now. He does a lot of the blogging stuff that I, don't really dabble in too much. So I appreciate having him on here and his perspective. He was in the Army, was National Guard?
Army National Guard, yeah.
Yeah, he's in the Army National Guard back in the early 90s. We got Les. So Les is AKA Pegasus Tests. Les was a Marine back in the early 90s. He was in Desert Storm, and he definitely brings a lot to the table in these discussions as well. And then our new join here, we got Dr. Christopher Larsen, and he's got a YouTube channel. Christopher Larsen. Make sure you check him out. He's relatively new to YouTube, but he's been posting a lot of videos lately. And he was the founder of One Shepherd, and he's the one that got it all started 40 years ago. So glad to have you, brother. I know you're going to bring a lot to the table here. So
yeah, well, just let me tell you, if they're bad at math, 40 years plus me, that makes me 29. Just
But Evan, I appreciate you guys. We had such a good time the other night doing this live stream for the very first one. We thought it'd be a good idea to go ahead and do another one since so much is taking place over in Afghanistan and our world. We just got so much to talk about, guys, and kick this around. I know a lot of guys are having the same thoughts we are, and we just want to get our thought there and discuss it with a great panel of like-minded individuals. So first and foremost, I've kind of got a set plan tonight of what we're going to be talking about. But first thing we're going to talk is just thoughts of the current situation in Afghanistan, what's going on. And then we're going to move up to the Afghan resistance up north and our thoughts on that. And then after that, we'll talk about the August 31st deadline. I saw something today where one of the Taliban commanders said, or a press guy said that, hey, August 31st is like a red line in the sand. If we're there after that, then, who knows what's going to happen. So we'll kick that around and what our actions should be or what we think should happen if something were to happen like an attack, or if we still have Americans still trapped inside the country of Afghanistan post August 31st. And then last, if we still got some time, we'll talk about the new ammo ban on Russian ammunition coming into the country. So I'll open the floor, fellas. Who wants to take over here and kick this off? All right, Bruce, by default.
I think since Mr. Larsen, this is his first time on with us, he should lead it off.
That's true.
Go for it, FNG.
Throw him into the fire right away.
I was just saying, you don't. Okay, you're throwing me the microphone. Oh, this is gonna be terrible. We're gonna be crying and ripping cloth and wailing and stuff like that. Look, I find the situation in Afghanistan deplorable would be the word I would use. I find it to be a shame that I am concerned. We've seen this before. We've seen, sadly, I wish we had never seen this before, but we did. We saw it at the end of Vietnam. We saw it in Beirut. We saw it in Somalia. We saw it in Iraq, and now we're seeing it in Afghanistan. And that is when a U.S. administration forcibly enters a nation, takes land, seizes territory, and then has no plan, no 60-year plan to bring those great-grandchildren to American universities, prosperous and under an expectation of representative government. If you're not doing that, if you're not doing that, you have no business invading anybody. And let me tell you, let's go. Who wielded this sort of thing successfully? Several different people. The Persians, way back in the time of Alexander the Great and Alexander the Great himself, all the way through the Romans, all the way up to Napoleon. What they do is they'd invade a place and they would make sure that they would take everything they want, but give them something that they've always wanted and could never obtain for themselves. When you do that, you can, I dare say the word pacify, but the reality is that you can rally them around an identity and around a cause. And guys, that's what we're supposed to do. And when you look at where we've been successful, you guys gave me the microphone. When you look at where we're successful, Italy and Germany and Japan and South Korea, you look at these models of success. Hell, I'll throw Panama and the Philippines in there. We were there 3, 4, 5 generations, 100 years. And everybody's like, oh, but we were in Afghanistan for 20 years. Sit and spin. I don't give a rat's ass about 20 years. It takes 20 years just to win the war. People are like, no, it didn't. In Germany, no, it didn't. Do you know when the last American soldier was killed by the German Nazi soldiers? Do you know what year that was? 145. I believe it was 52. 52. I think the last American soldier was killed, soldier Marine was killed in Japan in 49, in fighting, in 49. So the reality is that these things take a long time to win the peace anyway. And America, once again, made promises under one administration, People bought in it, hook, line, and sinker, not the least of which is our allies who sent their boys to their death on our behalf, as well as Afghanistan. And now we're abandoning all of them. We're making sure all those deaths were in vain. And we're making sure the Afghans have a national tragedy on the magnitude that they haven't seen in quite some time. And that's impressive because they've gone through one tragedy after another. But we managed to top all of them. So how about that for a start?
Yeah, you can almost say our strength and our weakness.
All right, glad everybody can make it tonight. Well, there you go.
No, seriously, Chris is right in the fact that let's look at the historical perspective. Back in the 1970s, the first thing that fell was Phnom Penh. Shortly thereafter, Saigon went down. And then right after that, you have the Mayaguez incident, where the Khmer Rouge felt we were powerless and impotent, and they went and seized one of our ships. And look at the high price we paid to get that ship back, 41 dead Marines.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's going to be safe to say that more tests are coming, and they're going to come soon.
Yeah, well, you're giving Afghanistan back, not to the Afghanis. Look, the Taliban are not an Afghanistan phenomenon. They come from the Swat Valley. That's its birthplace, is the Swat Valley of Pakistan. They are an invading foreign force. Now, I get that most of their infrastructure is made up of Afghan people, right? And predominantly, let's be honest, criminals. Warlords and drug lords and stuff like that. But literally criminals, like pedophiles and things like that, taken right from the prisons. So it's not like we're giving this back to a faction we merely didn't like. It's not like that at all.
Yeah, I think if I was going to play devil's advocate, I think the one difference between some of the other places we've been, such as Germany, South Korea, Japan, all those other places, and it's probably going to be politically incorrect to say, but for the most part, those countries and peoples in general were wanting to advance. They weren't like stuck in the 18th century. And I think that can play a little bit of a role. So my question comes, at what point do we stop trying to, bring them around, And I don't know. I don't have the answer for that. So it's like, since you weren't here last time, Chris, what I was saying last time was I felt like it was probably time for us to go. I just had major issues with the way it was done and how it's being done, et cetera. I'm open to somebody making a good argument as to why we should still stay there. I'm not that dogmatic either way, but I think the people, though, is what concerns me. To me, it makes me feel like, okay, how long do we keep banging our heads on the wall trying to tell these people, here's a modern invention called toilet paper, start using it, and they just don't. I mean, does that make sense?
It does, and if I can respond to that, I get that. You're correct. You're calling it correct. Look, it isn't enough to say Japan and Italy and Germany. I would argue that even the Philippines and Panama had certain natural resources, that they had a complex civilization, that it was easier rebuilding them than Afghanistan and the Afghan people, because they were ravaged by war for damn near 45 years. So you're right. They were brutal, tribal, primitive. But I can say that it was worse for South Korea. In 1953, at the signing of the armistice, American newspapers were reporting that South Koreans, because they had been ravaged for 50 years by the Japanese, their king had been assassinated. I'm like, beheaded publicly. So the comfort women and the raping of all the lumber and everything else. I mean, it was deforested. It was a primitive place, South Korea in 1953. And people really believed that South Koreans would never be fully empowered, capable people. They would never be a global player because they were just too backwards and they had been ravaged for so long. By 1990, everybody was eating their words. they're not just the most plugged in technologically, one of the most technologically advanced societies in the world. They're also one of the most peaceful. And here's the interesting thing about that, John. What really is telling to me about this is compared to the other allies that I just discussed, Germany, Italy, Japan, Panama, the Philippines, the South Koreans have been our staunchest military allies. So in addition to the other strategic powers, diplomacy, information, military, and economic dime, right? In addition to those, South Korea wound up being our staunchest ally and has followed us around the world in one war after another. So we wound up eating our words from 1953 up to the late 1980s when they finally became a democracy, because they weren't. They were a military dictatorship up until the late 80s. So you have every right to ask this question. I don't think you're wrong. You're looking at stuff saying, man, we had so much easier time building Germany and Japan into economic powerhouses. True, but it still can be done because we said it couldn't be done in Korea, and we were exactly opposite. I will also say this, though, and I didn't know this. Well, look at me, look so smart. I didn't know this until I had the privilege of working with the Human Terrain System, U.S. Army Human Terrain System, for 3 years, and they embedded anthropologists into combat patrols into Afghanistan and Iraq. And one of the things we found out about both of those countries, and particularly Afghanistan, people were shocked to see that Afghanistan in 1975 have women wearing miniskirts, high heels, and driving themselves to universities, to their own classes.
Right.
So this is before the Soviets invade. They actually had a
remember
level
that.
of sophistication. Yeah, they had a level of sophistication, and they were a secular government. True, they were a Muslim society, but they had a secular government. And so that's what I was waiting to see. But I knew it would take 3 generations. And the first generation, frankly, I didn't see anything I didn't expect. And I'm surprised the Americans thought they should see something else.
I'm impressed, Doc Larsen. You said it like that because that was going to be my statement all along, and in agreement with John as well. That I think maybe looking back on this thing, we were looking at having to stay there for 60 years, probably 3 generations. We stayed there for 20 years, and we know now that wasn't long enough. That one generation that had a taste of freedom, rights for women, schools for kids, and jobs and trade and all of that, it wasn't enough because the 2 older generations were too powerful for that younger generation, especially when they had influence from outside countries and ideologies. And with Korea, you said 40 years roughly. This is how long it took South Korea before they were able to really stand on their own and really convince anyone that came to that country this was the right choice. And we see that now looking at the 2 Koreas just with their electrical grid. And that's a very simplistic way of looking at it. There's a whole lot more to it than that, but that's a good way of looking at it. Who has power and who doesn't? So that kind of takes us back to George Bush's decision, though, which was first we're going to go in there and kick a whole lot of ass and punish a whole lot of people, which I think we did very, very well. But then after that, are we willing to stay another 60 years with a presence in this country? Granted, I think it would have been a much smaller presence. I think a year ago we had a smaller footprint there just to keep things stabilized. But are we willing to do that for another 40 years? And obviously this administration certainly wasn't. And there's a lot of American people too that weren't. They're going, why am I funding that? Why am I paying for that or whatever? And I understand those concerns on the civilian side, which you guys too, you're all paying for it. Your kids will pay for it. Your grandkids will pay for it at some point. The question is the juice worth the squeeze? This administration decided that it wasn't. The last administration decided that it wasn't as well. And here we are now. To what John said, though, and I think that there's the elephant in the room. It wasn't so much that we chose at this point or at some point to get out, but it was the way that it was done. And it's absolutely tragic what we're seeing unfold now. And every one of us could have sat here a month ago before this ever kicked off and said, oh, if they do it this way, this is going to be tragic.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna jump in real quick. I was a proponent of keeping a residual force there, just for the simple fact that the whole premise of us going into Afghanistan was to deny Afghanistan a safe haven for Al Qaeda, right? And we had that. Effectively, we achieved that. So I mean, I don't understand why we couldn't keep Bob Leatherneck, for instance. You know, huge airfield. Just have a fucking Guantanamo Bay style footprint in Afghanistan. We could still every once in a while drop a Moab on their ass, you know, and say, "Hey, motherfuckers, we're still here." You know, but to just wash your hands of it and leave. I mean, a small skeleton crew, and if you know, at this point, I'm still in favor of a little Guantanamo Bay style base right in the middle of Afghanistan, just as a big middle finger to them. You know, and if they ever master forces, hey, it's out in the middle of nowhere. Hey, free, right? Bring in the freaking B2s, B1s, and just have at it.
So on that note, Brent, I was thinking the other day, why couldn't we have pulled the majority of the combat troops out? Like, but then, like you said, maybe instead of having a little embassy building in Kabul, take like the airfield at Mazar-i-Sharif or something, and that airfield and the surrounding buildings, that's our embassy, right? So we've got a place to have a small contingency. We've got our own little airfield, similar like you said, a Gitmo thing. And then we could keep a small force there that we had the capability of backing up if we needed to, but otherwise it wasn't any different than having a base like we do multiple in South Korea, Japan, Germany, etc. Because we still keep bases there. So
another thing we didn't do in the nation building process is allow our troops to leave the FOB. Because they never left the FOB, they didn't go out in town and get drunk laden partied, to be crude, and they didn't buy these little trinkets to bring back home. So the local economy never grew, and we never became a positive over there. Because I guarantee you, all those local guys living outside the bases, they start making money off of us. They're not going to let the Taliban come in and mess up their cash and revenue stream. And if you notice, one thing that the Afghan war and the Iraq war have very different from all American wars previous to it, I hear no stories of dog faces coming home with their Afghan or Iraqi wife.
Yeah.
Has anybody heard of that? And it's like, no, because now we have no ties to that community. We didn't ingratiate ourselves into that nation. You know, all the prior wars, World War I, GIs came home with French wives, World War II, German and Japanese wives, Korean wives, Vietnam, Cambodia, Southeast Asian wives. Even as recent as the I4 operation in Serbia, GIs came home with Balkan wives. It's not happening in Afghanistan.
You bet. And what you're talking about there is what I don't know that Carl Slyke presented, Dr. Slyke presented the ink dot theory, but he certainly was a proponent of it and a champion of it. So, and once I explain it, you guys will get why they call it. You know, you put a drop of ink. You've certainly started to write something before on a porous paper like a napkin, and the ink was too much, and it starts spreading across, right? And so you see that spread. So the theory of the ink dot is just what Les was saying. That's spot on. And they look to Japan and Germany specifically as examples of that, where you have, like what you guys were just saying, you know, go up to Mazar-i-Sharif, have one area that's a safe zone, and I'll justify that on a moral, ethical position simply by saying, but I'll get into it. But let me justify it first. That is this. I'll say it again. Taliban is not Afghanistan. It's a Pakistani structure, and it answers to the Swat Valley. So to say that the Taliban are somehow indigenous to Afghanistan is a farce. It's absolutely a fiction. And what's happening is the Taliban, but I'll give the Taliban this. Here's one thing I'll give the Taliban. I won't give them much. Guess what the Taliban is willing to stay? 3, 4, 5 generations longer. They're willing to stay that long. And they're a foreign force. Okay? Predominantly, anyway. And so here's my point. We don't have to respect the Taliban. They're not Afghani. They're not Afghan. And so we can go up to Mazar-i-Sharif, if we're playing what if. And we could create our own, this is the U.S. sector of Afghanistan. And oh, by the way, we're building this massive LSA up here with airstrips and trains and everything else, and we'll just fly things in nonstop. I'm sending wives and children to elementary school. There's going to be McDonald's. We're going to have Walmarts there, everything else. And just just like Bruce and Les were saying. You're going to see GIs intermarrying with Afghan people. You're going to see Afghan people selling things to the United States in our sector. And anybody who comes in, we're just basically warlords at that point. Anybody who comes into our sector, we bomb the living shit out, right? And so you do that, and what happens is you'll see a natural migration where people are like, Inca, I want some of that good life. I want some of that stability and that economic success. And oh, by the way, they'll let me worship my way and raise my family the way I want. Yeah, oh, welcome to the American dream. So that's one thing we could have done and should have done and never did. Is it still on the table with Biden at the helm? The man has dementia, and I'm not even making fun of it. My father died of dementia. It's not a fun way to go, but he has dementia. No, he's a puppet. He's a meat puppet and a coward.
See, I've been saying what they've been doing with him should be criminal anyway. There should be people going to jail for elder abuse, but that's a discussion for another time.
Yeah. So, but that's, if you don't mind me doing, I don't mean to take charge there, Brent, but I would say that's a cool segue. All right, so we kind of agree on that, and you're right. I'm one of the guys who said I'm not sure we ever should have gone in, but once we went in, I'm saying we shouldn't have gone out. Now we're getting out. That's the reality. We're out. Essentially, as of basically tomorrow or whatever, we're out real soon, and that's a reality we all have to deal with. So now what? Now do we turn to the Chinese and the Iranians and start working with them to make sure they grab their toehold? Because that is an option. You can partition Afghanistan into Uzbek and Chinese, and China and Pakistan and Iran. They can all take their piece and let the Taliban have their one little section. Do we champion that as a Balkanization of Afghanistan? Is that an option?
Interesting idea, because one of the things that Afghan has different than the other societies we mentioned where the U.S. has been successful is the society in Afghanistan is not homogenous. Japan is a homogenous society. The Germans are technically, even though a Prussian and a Bavarian will tell you they're very different, they're not really. But Afghan, that's not a homogenous society in any way, shape, or form.
Not even a homogenous language. You got some of them speaking Pashto, some of them speaking Dari, and some of them speaking Farsi, for crying out loud, as well as Uzbek. Yeah.
See, what I think is fixing to happen is almost exactly what you said we should have done, but it's all going to be China. I've got a sneaky suspicion that China is fixing to control Afghanistan in exchange for natural resources that they want to come get. Just tell the Taliban, here, we'll trade you weapons and training and equipment, whatever. You just let us come mine natural resources, and you can run the country however you want to. We don't care.
You know what? If I was China, I'd be on that border too, because they've had all sorts of problems with Muslims and Buddhists. Because come on, let's be honest.
They've already met with them, so
yeah. Well, they took Tibet, and now they have a Muslim problem. They have their own terrorist problem, and I would be very wary if I was China right now. I would. I'd be all over that border. I'd have 100 miles of that border. I would just go and take it. It's kind of like maybe worse than what we have on our southern border.
Yeah.
I want to segue. I know it came up, so I'm going to segue into the next bullet point here, and that was the August 31st deadline. So I was watching an interview earlier on Fox, and they were talking to some Taliban spokesperson, and the guy said, what happens if come August 31st, we still have people in the country, we're still trying to get out. And this Taliban spokesperson said, hey, August 31st is our red line in the sand. And so with that being said, what are we going to do come August 31st? And we still got Americans inside Afghanistan, and or they attack us come that date or after. What should be our actions? Let's kick that around.
I don't think they have a plan, because in not watching, but listening to the Pentagon briefing today while working, there was multiple different reporters directly asked them that question. Do we have plans to try to extend that date if we don't have everybody out by then? asked that question 10 different ways, and not once could they ever give a straight answer. Well, we'll discuss, we'll worry about that when the time gets here, or whatever. They never could give a straight answer of, yes, we have contingency plans for that, but we're not going to talk about them. They couldn't even say that.
Yeah, I'll tell you that this deadline as it is, and I know all the guys here will probably agree. That's like when you get how to defeat an army for dummies 101. As soon as there's a date for someone to move and do something, that's when you turn the pressure on. When you've got your enemy on the run, that's when you pressure them. And that's all that they're doing, and they're going to do it both politically as the Taliban can be. And I don't believe it's just the Taliban. I believe it's Al Qaeda, ISIS. I kind of think that those pressures are all rolled into one. They all have that one great interest right now, and that's embarrassing and humiliating the United States. There's been several questions through the chat already. What if they hit that last plane that's getting out, or those last few planes that are coming out, or whatever the case is? Of course, yeah. Then what have we got? We've got a national tragedy on stage. It's going to be in 4K for everybody to see. People burning, children dying, our planes burning, our equipment down. I try to always look at what if you were the bad guy, right? Of course. That's what I'm going to do. Sure. So the U.S. bombs a few people, a few mud huts, and kills a few people in retaliation. The victory in the end is always there, because they don't have a news media that's covering the people that are those villages that they've got that are being bombed. That's on us. It was the same thing in Vietnam. It was no different. In a lot of ways, we lost that war because of the media and the media coverage and the way that the war was being brought straight home to our guys. Whereas the Vietnamese or the North Vietnamese didn't have as big of a grasp of the death and destruction that we were throwing down on top of them. That's why many of them were lost, and only 70,000 of ours were lost. I think the same thing's going to unfold here, or could unfold here. And I think that's why that the Taliban simply saying, no, we're not going to give you time to get all the other people out that you want. You'll be here forever getting every little person that might have ever been associated with tightening a nut down on a tank somewhere out in the field. We're going to set that date as August 31st, and that's that. And I have a feeling that before August 31st gets here, we start to see more and more chaos from pressure of the Taliban being put around that airbase rather than less. They're not going to be out there. Look, they're not out there helping us get people in right now. They're doing everything that they can to prevent it from happening. And who are those people that are going to be left behind? They're going to be Afghan people that work with us. They'll let us get our Americans out. They'll let us get out all the Westerners, and then they're going to start pressuring those. And yeah, I know there was a comment up. I didn't quite catch it about the beheadings, but yeah, there's already beheadings going on of Afghan officers and Afghan commanders, people that were in charge. They've already started that process. It's just going to speed up between now and then.
I'm not so sure they haven't already got some Americans that they've already picked up and tucked away somewhere and are waiting until the right time to parade them out.
Yeah, you're probably right. September 1 will be the truth about that.
Yeah, that's their.
There's been some really concerning reports about people that have lost contact with folks that they've got over there, et cetera. And I mean, it's Afghanistan, so it's not like quite as technologically connected as we are here, but still, most of those folks got ways of maintaining contact. Some of them have just went dark. So can be kind of concerning.
Yeah, I guarantee you're 100% right, John. I guarantee they got some Americans tucked away for leverage.
By now, yeah, I would imagine.
That'd be a pretty seriously tactical mistake on their part.
How so? There's no center to attack inside of Afghanistan.
No, what I mean, for the Taliban, that would be a tactical mistake on their part if they haven't gone and got people to tuck away.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
If you put yourself in that enemy commander spot, yeah, you want to have those cards.
What better?
Let's give credit where credit is due. The Taliban have been playing the social media game very well. First with that replica of the Iwo Jima picture, and being smart enough to hold a press conference when Joe Biden wouldn't. They're playing a smart game. I cannot imagine that they would make an inept decision to not have an ace up their sleeve by having some hostages.
What better a backdoor phone conversation with the White House. Hey, you said you're out by the 31st. Either you stick to that, or these people go on live stream and.
Or just come out September 1st and go, oh, by the way, we've these 8 people that you lost contact with, we've got them somewhere now. Now let's negotiate. Right. What can we get for these 8 people?
And they're going to ask for all their frozen assets back.
Yeah, good point, Les.
So we've talked about what the enemy's most dangerous and the enemy's most likely, but we haven't addressed what we're going to do about it, because I don't think we have many good options at this point.
Yeah, there's a reason. There's a reason for that, Dr. Larsen. I don't know that we have a plan of what we're going to do about it. Not under this administration.
Yeah, I think maybe
as scary as that answer is, I think you're right, Bruce. I don't think there is a plan.
I put money on there not being a plan right now, and I ain't got a lot of money to spare.
Well, what they're afraid of is sending a convoy of MATVs or MRAPs into the city to extract some of our people, and the next thing you have is Black Hawk Down situation where the whole city's against us, and we really don't have the assets there to respond.
That's so easy. You're absolutely right. That it would look very similar to what we saw in Mogadishu, right?
And I think it will look similar, only a lot worse, because even just that 30-year time difference, we're a different society. They put something like that on TV now.
I got another question. Maybe you guys can enlighten me on this, because I'm not completely spun up on it. Yeah, we've got the airfield, and we're asking everybody in the capital to come to the airfield to get out. Afghanistan's a big country. Don't we have people spread out all over that country? What are we doing about people we're worried about people getting from one community to the airport. What about people that are 300 miles away? What are they supposed to do? We had to have people spread out all over the country, right?
So I listened to a guy discuss that very thing. Afghanistan is almost the size of Texas, right?
Okay.
So think about people, Kabul being on one side of Texas and Americans on the other side, and they have to completely cross the entire state with the risk of being killed the entire way.
That's huge.
Right. And that's been part of the problem. That's why the British and the French have been sending their people out to go pick their people up and bring them in. And we're just telling everybody, hey, come to the airport and we'll try to get you out, but we're not giving you any help to get here. I
can't imagine trying to make that journey under these conditions.
I mean,
well, depending on where you are, if you're way down in the south, you're probably best to make your way over the PAC border.
Right, foreign borders, yeah. And I heard that there were a bunch of Afghanis moving, was it into Turkey?
No, Iran. Turkey's not connected, but
Iran.
Probably going up to Turkmenistan.
Iran, I'm sorry, Iran, yep. Iran. I can't imagine knocking on the door of Iran asking for help.
Oh, they drove an entire company of A&A went across the border with all their equipment right into Iran. Same thing they did up in Uzbekistan. So,
but again, that might be the long game. It's a weak analogy, but think of like the Poles in World War II, all hanging out in England, and then they fought their way through Europe, predominantly through the Italian theater. But you see what I'm saying is, if you have cohesive cohort units of A&A, like the STRAC units, and yes, there are such a thing, then if you have them in sympathetic countries that also want to make sure they keep the Taliban at check on their border, then that can actually work out well, at least for a short game. I don't know about the long run.
No, there's actually a historical precedence for that, because many of the Rhodesian veterans, when it became Zimbabwe, went to South Africa, and units were wholesale incorporated into the SADF. Like the Celia Scouts and the Rhodesian SAS became the 6th Recce Battalion of the South African Defense Forces, and a lot of the Rhodesian veterans were integrated into the SADF. I can imagine that some of these other forces to the north of Afghanistan will probably want to try to make use of those guys, if nothing else, to keep them under control, because you don't want a bunch of somewhat trained individuals, heavily armed, running around your country.
Yeah, someone just wrote Tajikistan is aiding. It's already gone real quick, but he's saying that Tajikistan, to his knowledge, is already aiding, the basically A&A remnants and stuff to keep them at bay. Again, I can't answer your question, Brent. I would say that the obvious answer is that we can do short tactical raids. We have the freedom of movement. We have the air dominance. So clearly we can put troops down anywhere we need to put troops down. I think what's limiting about that factor, though, and we can do it like in maneuvering so quickly that the Taliban can't keep pace. Like we can out tempo them. But the problem is we don't have good intel. We don't have boots on the ground. And we all know the limitations of satellites and UAVs. So I think we can do tactical raids to rescue people, to put the hurt on people. We can call up B-2 bombers from Whitman Air Force Base in Missouri and send them over there. But and bomb them they are in the Stone Age. Bomb them back into the Stone Age.
Yeah, but that only sets them back 3 weeks.
Right, but yeah. But that also takes a presidential administration with stamina. And if we look at Nixon in Vietnam, and we look at Reagan in Beirut, and we look at Clinton in Somalia, and we look at Obama in Iraq, what we can predict from Biden is that he's already tucked his tail. He and his administration are absolutely coward to their core. They have no fight. They have no will. They're not strong people. They're not morally strong. They're not intellectually strong. They don't have grit, and they are in full retreat right now. And so I don't see them having the intestinal fortitude to send those kind of strikes out. Some of I don't know if you guys are reading some of these.
Yeah, they're really good.
And they are. I've been reading some of them going, wow.
And I see there's a highlighted fake news, fake media, fake election, fake president, what's left. I love it. But, here's the thing, though, guys, whether you believe that the election was joshed with or not doesn't really matter. We can all agree that there were a whole lot of Americans with their heads in the sands that did vote for Biden. Whether it swung one way or another, it doesn't matter so much at this point. But a whole lot of people don't understand what's going on in this country and don't understand the consequences that elections bring. This whole topic for these last two of these that we've done have 100% circled around that. What this administration has done and the tragedies that it's already brought to us as Americans, but even more so to the people of Afghanistan, the children of Afghanistan. I mean, I'm one of those people that, I'm Christian and I'm Pentecostal, and there's a religious side of me that doesn't care what happens to Muslims. But when it comes to children, I do care. Those kids, it doesn't matter what area of the country you come from, race, religion, creed, whatever. Children, whenever you see children being hurt, that's always a tragedy. And for all of us, our hearts melt with those children, bleed with those children. And that's something that I think is completely unacceptable.
Oh, those kids ain't got
I just will say real quick,
idea.
Some of these comments, the comment feed is so fast that when I click on them to highlight comments, like I'm getting the one. So if you see some random comment come up highlighted, it was probably an accident.
Cat's not right.
There's some great zingers in here. I swear there's about 5-6 times I went, ooh, I wish I said that. Yeah.
Right.
Hey,
Yeah,
just to point back to what you said, Chris. So intelligence, not having boots on the ground. If we even did want to go back and do anything right now, have we already crossed that Rubicon where we wouldn't be able to get any help on the ground again? Or would any potential Afghan help be like, nah, sorry, you done burnt that bridge, we ain't helping you anymore?
Absolutely. It's a death sentence if they help us.
Yeah.
It's a death sentence to them and their whole family. This isn't you're going to jail. This is I'm killing every member of your family in front of you and then killing you.
Yeah.
Yep.
Hey, this is a good segue, gents, into the next point that we established, and that's about the resistance up north. So you have the ex-Afghan president. I'm going to butcher this name, but Armalula Salih, something like that. And then there's another guy, Ahmed Massoud, who's the son of a famous fighter that fought the Soviets. And those two have essentially linked up. And the vice president didn't flee the country like the cowardice president of Afghanistan. He stayed, and he's up there in the north trying to form this new alliance. So the question is, what do we do about these guys that are forming up? And a lot of them are former Afghan army, Afghan commandos, and it's important to point out that a lot of the Afghan army was willing to fight and have been fighting. I mean, they've lost like 60,000 casualties over the years, and a lot of those guys were undermined by their commanders. So my understanding is a lot of them are up in the north now, and they've already retaken like 3 provinces. So let's get that around for a while.
There was just something out today that the Northern Alliance had already retaken a bunch of area that the Taliban had taken. So don't discount the Northern Alliance. I think they kind of, because we went in, of course, Massoud's father was killed 2 days before 9/11. And then, of course, it was not long after that we were in Afghanistan. So I think the Northern Alliance was getting ready to put some whoop ass on, but us going in they just stood back and said, all right, well, America's here. But now they're like, all right, America's gone. Sorry, we're back to business. And I wouldn't discount them.
It'll remain to be seen, because one of the things that they're going to lack is logistical support, unless the Tajiks and the Uzbeks and other players support them logistically. Fight's not going to last long, because it's pretty safe to say this government's not going to have the gumption or the stomach to supply them.
Yeah, that's what should happen. We should just fund the living hell out of them. Drop in, ODA teams, Marine recon teams. Just there should be, 6,000 advisors that are just rotated around the clock, and this should happen forever and ever and amen. And again, I'm going to belabor the point, particularly for the people coming, is that the Northern Alliances are legitimate. They are legitimate Afghan. Taliban is a Pakistan ideology, a Pakistan movement. It is a foreign invasion. So we could justify this so easily that we could I think we could get the UN. Not that they have any power or any influence, but I think we could get them to bless off on it. It's just so clear of a legitimate way of going about things. But again, all I have to say is Biden.
Yeah, I agree with you. I agree with you, Doctor, and Les there too. I believe that's something that someone like the UN could get behind once the borders are sort of formed, supplying them with air support. Everybody knows going back 100 years, maybe more. Well, definitely more. Artillery has ruled the battlefield, but the new artillery is air support, right? It's a very similar type of support when you can launch something from afar and strike targets on the ground. We've been doing it. Obama was a great airstrike guy in chief, right? Like from afar, he never had any problem dropping a tomahawk into somebody's mud hut. And I think that's something, again, I don't know about this administration, but at least if you got the UN involved and it was a UN effort, that we could give them that kind of support and help stabilize things there. I'm glad to see that there are some that do want to fight within the ANA and ANA associated forces, and that they're going to have to shore up an area that they control and then work out from that area. I'm embarrassed as an American to say that it's come to that already, but I guess we take whatever toehold we got and we go from there.
Hey, real quick, guys, I want to hit this comment. Yeah, of course. There's some terms. I get it, man. But I've also worked with some freaking outstanding pipe hitting Afghanistan, Afghan security forces over there, and their Afghan commandos actually had, I think it was like a 14-week training boot camp or something like that. I mean, that's right there on top or in par with Marine recruit training at 13 weeks. Some of those guys are legit, and you know, like I said, I've worked with some. I've seen the shitheads, and then I've seen some of the squared away ones. So just because there's you know, a video on YouTube of them not being able to do jumping jacks, and you know, we've all heard about the elite rates and stuff like that. There were some good Afghan units out there. There were some commandos. There was a commando unit that was holding off the Taliban, and essentially they ran out of ammunition. They ran the Afghan government wasn't providing with air support. We weren't providing them with air support, and the Taliban finally overran them and murdered and executed all of them. So when you see that, you know, the fellow Afghan army guys seeing like, hey, our government ain't resupplying us, you know, this is what our fate's going to be. You can understand why probably some of those guys just like hate and left. So,
well, back to the Northern Alliance real quick. Don't forget, Northern Alliance was handing it to the Taliban and holding their own for a long time without any support before we ever went in there. So don't underestimate their resourcefulness by themselves.
Yep, outnumbered 3-1 the whole time. Outnumbered 3-1 and still holding their own. And I absolutely agree. You know, Brent, the idea that America is the sole keeper of professional warriors and a warrior tradition is just narcissistically immature. First off, we are such a young country. Our whole entire, you know, European influence is what, 500 years old? I mean, you know, it's so the notion that Afghanistan hasn't produced and cannot to this very day produce top tier warriors is just laughable. Of course they can. I think there's many things that are misunderstood about Afghanistan and the Afghan people and culture. Yeah, they just weren't given long enough time to foster all the things that they needed, you know, to do to foster. They just weren't given the time. 20 years isn't enough, and it's not enough for any of us.
You know, that's the thing too. That's where we've let the Afghans down, because I remember when President Bush sent us in there, one of the promises he made to the Afghan people is he was going to give them a Western style military. We all know that's 30 years minimum, and that's if everything goes right.
Yeah. Correct.
I agree.
yeah, and obviously there was a bunch of corruption, you know, at the higher levels as well. And I know there was a lot of fraud, waste, and abuse, which we kind of hit on the last chat that we had.
Yeah, well, that just goes to show you how we never got to the third generation. The third generation is supposed to stand up. Again, it's objective. First generation wins the peace. Second generation wins the economy. Third generation wins expectation of representative government. And when you look at the Persian and Arab militaries, look at neighboring Iran and Pakistan. The legitimacy of any government is predicated on their military support. So that is their cultural tradition. And when we said we're going to give you a Western military, we didn't just mean the capability of a peer or near peer. We also meant a military that is apolitical, and that the people are what empowers and upset and replaces its own government. And you're right. That's a bare minimum of 30 years. I think that's optimistic to say 30 years. I really think you are talking a 60-year commitment in most cases.
So not to branch off down a rabbit hole, but my buddy Noel just made a really good comment. So at this point, I mean, we can Monday morning quarterback what should have happened, what would have done, et cetera. But we are where we are. And I agree with him. My big question right now is, why are we having such a hard problem getting our people out of there? Why has that become such a difficult task? In their own words, we don't have the capability to go get our people. That is very, very concerning to me.
I hope that Noel, to put his concerns at mine, and I know there's a lot of people in the country that's their primary concern is let's just get those Americans out and then to hell with everything else. I think that if that's your number one concern, it's my number one concern. I mean, I want to get Americans out first, obviously, I think that will be satisfied. Short of maybe a few, we talked about maybe there's going to be some hostages held back behind the lines, and it only takes a few to make an awful video and a terrible news story that runs on for a week. But the absolute bulk, 99.9% of American citizens, I believe, will be out of that country probably by the 31st. I think that is the administration's number one priority, because they know that almost every American in this country agrees, no matter what your political background or a choice is, we want our Americans back home. They're going to have to do that. They don't have a choice. So I think that if that's your number one concern, I guess it's my number one concern. I'm not so concerned with that, which is why I think that a lot of us, we're sort of focusing on what about those other support people that helped us throughout the years. For the last 20 years, they've been working for us, helping try to form a democracy over there. That's why we've kind of focused on that as a concern. But I think I can probably speak for all of us, and you guys can choose to disagree if you'd like, but Americans first is what we're primarily concerned with. We want to see our people back home.
Hey, let me jump in there. Charles McCrimmon says, when we go into another war, those indigenous people will say pound sand because we've seen how you treat allies. And I think this is the real damage to America's prestige. I think he hit the nail on the head. And it gets into what you were just saying, Bruce. It does, believe it or not. So here's the deal. When it comes right down to it, why did some people back the fascists, the Nazis, the communists, the this, the that, the other thing, the Lord's Resistance Army? Why did they back it? And in most of the cases, if you're not talking about one of the dead enders who have nowhere else to go and they're going to fight to their death, if you're not talking about that, then you're saying what people want to do is they want stability. Right? They want to know what's going to happen tomorrow. They want to know if they're going to wake up. So what they want to do is they want to back the winners. When you're placing your bet, you want to back the winners. And this is why this is such an incredible violation of trust, not just to the Afghan people, of course, to them, and they'll suffer it worse than anyone else, but even those Americans, even those allies that are out there doing, I don't know, maybe they're doing missionary work. Or maybe they're putting in plumbing in a village up in the mountains. Or maybe they're, immunizing people's goats. The point is, they went into Afghanistan because they believed that America had their back, that they were on the side of the winning team. Why did it fold so quickly? Because people said, America's leaving, and I have to, I'm going to back whoever's going to leave me, not kill me and my family. And so they folded like a wet napkin. And I'm not upset with them. I'm not upset with them at all, because they're just trying to survive and they've got no way out. And so
self-preservation.
Yeah, right. And so when we say what's going to happen next, I think the successful way forward is for all parties involved: Tajikistan, China, Iran, Pakistan, the United States, the United Nations. Yes, I know the United Nations. Yes, they're prostitutes. I get that. The point here is that
That's how you really feel, Doc.
I know. All of them involved. I just mean they sell out to the highest bidder. That's all I mean. Come on, it's the tragedy of the commons. I'm not even necessarily saying they're bad people. I'm saying it's the tragedy of commons. So when all that's involved, if all those people involved can constantly put pressure, economic, diplomatic, information, and military actions, and constantly put pressure all around the periphery of the Taliban-controlled areas, they're constantly reminding the Afghans that are in that area, you aren't on the winning side. You aren't on the winning side. You need to escape. You need to make your way to one of these other areas that fits your ideology, or as a matter of convenience, the closest one you can escape to without being beheaded. I think that's maybe a successful way forward. But now you're playing a long, stupid game where we essentially had Afghanistan won, just as we had just in 2009, Iraq was won. And the Obama administration was told Iraq isn't even a thing. Just keep a presence there. We have the stability. We're going to rebuild them in the next 40 years. This is a done deal. Focus on Afghanistan. And what did the Obama administration do? Pulled us out. And within 6 months, ISIS had taken 1/3 of the country.
Yep. that's important to note. Hey, as far as I can tell, Iraq is a success. I mean, no more Saddam. Hey, they've built their whole country. Do we still have anybody still there? I don't know if we even have a skeleton crew there or not, but
I think we have a skeleton crew supporting what's going on in Syria.
That's it.
Yes.
But yeah, they seem to be doing okay. But to be fair, there's a hell of a lot of Iranians there.
If the president's watching this, we do still have support troops in Syria. You can learn it. You heard it here first, right here.
Hey, Chris brought up a good point though. And Iraq started getting invaded by ISIS. Guess what we did? We opened the floodgates for bombs coming from the sky, right? And we didn't do that in Afghanistan. Look what happened.
Right. Well, that, and we took the fight to Syria, which is where ISIS was out of, right? So maybe now, to make a parallel to that, we'd have to take the fight right now and say, okay, we're out of Afghanistan. So we're going into the Swat Valley of Pakistan and we're killing, Taliban there. That would be a parallel.
Well, have we talked Afghanistan to a death? Are we content with this? Or is there
I
any,
definitely think that there's a desire within the chat to speak about anything domestic. So we do have a domestic topic.
Yes, we got one last one. So no hanging chads with Afghanistan, right? We done with there?
Right. We've solved it for everybody.
If they would have come to us first, they would have known.
All right, let's move into some domestic stuff. So
they always come to the NCOs last. That's why they always come to the NCOs last.
So
E4 Mafia for the win.
Import ban on Russian ammunition. This kind of got snuck under the rug.
Yeah, if you think that was anything other than a political move against gun owners, you're smoking something really bad.
Yeah, you look like your mic was cut off there when John took over. But I'm gonna go ahead and voice not necessarily a dissenting opinion, but a different opinion on the whole ammo ban thing. And I'm gonna premise it by saying that anytime that ammunition or weapon importation is hindered, I see that as an American citizen as a problem. There are some people that are like, hey, buy American, blah, 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 blah. My number one concern is making sure that everyone out there has access to firearms. And there are plenty of really good Americans out there that for whatever reason may not have the financial situation that I have. Or, they've got multiple kids, they've got college bills. We've all got these things, right? Whatever it may be. If all you can afford is something that's $100 or ammunition that's the cheapest ammunition on the shelf, I'm fine with that. But, I want to see those affordable options available to everybody. But let me go into this and I don't know that we fully understand yet, but I did see a dissenting opinion today that said that basically all Russian ammunition importers that are already approved will continue to import in unrestricted forever, and that this only affects new importers out of Russia. So if that's the case, although I disagree with it because I want all importers, I don't care who you are, to be able to send stuff here. I think if you're arming Americans, I don't care if your stuff's Russian, Chinese, or Taliban for that matter. If it's falling into our hands, that's a good thing. Let's get it in here, right? But I don't see it as being a huge bottleneck or creating a short supply of ammunition if that's the case. And I don't know that that's the case, but if that's the case. John,
let me jump in there, Bruce.
Say something, so I'll let you jump in.
Because I'm a guy who's in international logistics. I can tell you the import ban affects everything not on the water right now. So if you bought a bunch of ammo in Russia and it didn't make it into a container and onto a boat, you just got screwed out of a boatload of money. If your stuff's already on the boat, you're probably going to be okay. But then that ammo, once it gets here, that's going to be it.
Okay, I know that that's been the first take on it, and that may be correct. and I will defer to you if that's the case. And if that's the case, it's absolutely tragic. I'm just saying that I saw a dissenting opinion today, and I wanted to put it out there. I wanted to be the voice of that. So
Sure.
So
The other problem that you have, go ahead, John.
no, I actually have a friend who is directly personally involved in the importation of some Russian ammo. So what you're saying, Bruce, the way that works is the importation permit is good for X number of purchases in months, and it has to continually be renewed and refiled. What this has said is anything that's already been approved can come in, but there'll be no new approvals from here on out. So kind of like what Les was saying, if it's already on the way, it's probably okay, but don't look for anything else to be approved to come in after that stuff gets here.
Yeah.
okay, well if that's correct, then I stand corrected.
Well, I'm telling you, Bruce, on the other hand, we've heard this before. If you like your doctor, you're going to be able to keep your doctor once we get this brand new. Yeah, that's what this sounds like. Hey, if you like your ammo dealer, you'll be able to keep your ammo dealer. Don't worry about this, America. But here's how I see it. I see it that capital A, let's do a math problem. Capital A is angry at capital B. So capital A is going to punish lowercase a. How is capital B injured by this?
100%.
I heard somebody say that exact analogy today, and they were like, yeah, I'm sure Vladimir Putin is just over there going, oh my gosh, they're banning our ammo. The horror. Somebody give me another vodka.
Yeah, that probably impacted his bank account by 2-3 thousandths of a percent for a minute.
Right. It's like,
well, the other thing that's bad about this,
us.
the other thing that's bad about this ammo ban is the calibers that are effective, because for 30 years now, 7.62 by 39 has been rolling into the country out of those factories that can produce it for nothing. American ammo manufacturers just don't make it. They've tried, right, and they were always at least double the price.
Right.
And, there's no reloading community behind it. There's no domestic supplier that's going to put it out in any quantity to make up for that Russian thing. And I've seen a lot of chatter. It's like, oh, well, we'll go get it from the Serbians. Well, we'll go get it from the Finns. Yeah, you can get it from them. But if you're going to get it from the Finns, you're going to pay top dollar. So it's going to be dollar around ammo. If you go get it from the Serbians, they're at capacity producing all the different other calibers they do.
Right.
It's going to be a while before they get around to cranking out AK ammo.
Of course. Yeah, absolutely.
People don't understand the logistics that Russia's had into place and how long they've had it into place of making ammo like this. They've been doing it for so long and at such a rate, they have no overhead costs, practically speaking.
Mm-hmm.
For somebody else to start setting up to do that, like just kind of like we were saying, I've heard people, oh, well, American ammo manufacturers can just pick it up. No, you don't understand what's involved in getting the machine and the tooling and everything that's involved in the components. The overhead on that is astronomical just to get started, much less to put it out at a price point that you can recoup and cover the initial investment. That was the beauty of all those Russian factories making it. Man, they could just turn it out for pennies on the dollar because it wasn't costing them anything, and they've been doing it forever.
U.S. manufacturers right now cannot keep up with demand on 5.56 and 9 mil. They can't keep up on demand with it. Forget it. They've not been able to for 2 years now. And all of a sudden we're going to demand on them that they start producing 7.62 by 39. Forget about it. They can't keep up with the demand that they've already got. So what does that mean? That means that the production is going to go down and the cost is going to go up, which is exactly what we don't need to happen right now.
So this runs probably. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead, Doc.
So I'm hearing this run a parallel to oil. I'm not kidding. Think about it now.
Fair enough.
Bullets are a commodity. Oil is a commodity. Sugar's a commodity, guys. They're just commodities. But here's the thing. We do the shale oil. I forget what it's called, but it's a special kind of mining that's rather expensive. And so to pull, U.S. has wonderful stocks of oil, but you don't get the sweet oil until you're out in the ocean drilling down, right? We're cutting through and we're doing all the, the fracking and all this stuff. And it's rather an expensive process. And so we stopped doing that because OPEC and, Venezuela and several different partners there, they were producing sweet oil at much, much cheaper prices than we could ever do it. And now at one point, you'll remember that OPEC went boom and we got $4.50 a gallon. And what happened was the U.S. oil industry said, whoa, hold on, at that rate, we can produce our own and sell it at like $3 a gallon, far underselling OPEC. And that's what happened. And you see this boom, this 10 to 12 year boom of the American oil industry that we haven't seen probably since the 50s or earlier, maybe the 30s, right? And it comes back in a major way. And it's a wonderful thing for everybody involved. And OPEC realized, holy crap, they've got everything into place. And here's what happened next. They said, oh, well, now we're going to take a loss and we're going to sell it cheaper than the U.S. can produce it because we have to strangle that industry. And once OPEC said, yeah, we're going to allow this, that's exactly what happened to the American oil industry over the last handful of years. Now, I mention that because this is far more, this isn't about the free market. It's far more about politics. And frankly, it's far more about restricting Second Amendment rights. But let's stay focused. If the U.S. manufacturers say, okay, that's it, we're going to build 7.62 by 39. We're going to take the 3-year lead up and recovery on ammo, and we do all these wonderful things, and they're selling AK ammo at 30 cents a round in the next 18 to 24 months. And then the presidential administration opens that floodgate back up. You're going to have U.S. manufacturers with all this machinery, all these skilled workers selling it at 30, 35 cents a round, competing with, Russia bringing it in at 19 cents a round. And so you're once again, this was really poorly played out. It wasn't just poorly played out from a political human rights, because that's what Second Amendment, all of the Bill of Rights are human rights. And it was very, very poorly played out there. But right now, the way to bring that back, that commodity back, is to stand this up inside the United States. And it's a risky gamut.
Yeah.
We
And
saw
one of
that-
the things, oh, go ahead, Bruce.
Go ahead, Les.
One of the things that's contributing this current ammo ban too, is the ammo manufacturers learned from Sandy Hook. Because if you remember, a couple of years after, 9mm was actually a little bit cheaper than 22 long rifle for a little bit, and we all got used to buying 1,000 rounds of 9 for about $170. And we used to think we were getting ripped off if we paid $300 for a case of 5.56. They learned their lesson with all that ammo overproduction. So they're not exactly in a rush to ramp up production to massive levels.
Yep. And a lot of
Yeah,
people
and remember what happened under Obama with the AR-15 lower demand that came, and this is exactly what Dark Larsen was talking about, was that we had American manufacturers go, oh my God, there's this huge demand for AR-15 lowers. So everybody and their cousin is going to spool up for production, which takes time and takes manpower and takes engineering and all of these things that go into it. And about the time that they got spooled up, all of a sudden the demand dropped off and everything became available again. And I literally saw AR-15 lowers go from about $100 a piece, just on average, okay, to about $300 to $400 a piece. And then went after 6 months of tooling up happened with all of these mom and pops that started building their own lowers, it dropped down because the demand ceased and the market was flooded. They couldn't sell them at $60 a piece. They couldn't sell them at $60 a piece. They learned their lesson from that, and I've seen that. And that's why recently that hasn't happened. And I'm sure the same thing has happened with ammunition. Have we seen any huge new ammunition manufacturers in the country? No, it takes millions of dollars to spool up the tooling to do that. You don't do this in your garage.
So Double Plus on Good just put something I think is slightly brilliant. Good on you, mate. And what he's saying is, how dumb is my my 5.56 AK now? And maybe that's the solution. Maybe that's the solution, is that you turn to the calibers that America is shooting. PSA, if you're watching, Palmetto State Army, for God's sakes, make a 5.56 AK, you bastards. All right, anyway.
It's coming. I can't say anything, but it's coming.
It better. Oh, my God.
History repeats itself. What did you do for an AK in the 1980s when you couldn't afford that incredibly overpriced Mahdi AKM? You bought a Valmet in 5.56.
Yeah, and even the Chinese at that time started producing a 5.56 variant. I had one, an 84S, I believe, or Model 84, simply because of the demand, because of the availability of ammunition.
You know what? I'm on board. Never mind. This ban is great. It's going to be great for One Shepherd. We're going to get our AKs back in M200 5.56. They won't be blowing apart our laser sats anymore. It's wonderful. God bless Biden.
There's another caveat, though, with this thing.
And you even said that with a straight face. I'm impressed, Doc.
So there's one other caveat with this. It's not just 7.62 that you got to pay attention to, because the dirty little secret is a lot of people, even some that won't admit it, bought a whole lot of steel cased 5.56, 9mm, etc. to practice with, and that cheap ammo forced domestic manufacturers to keep their prices down to try to compete. With that gone, the domestic manufacturers now are just like, okay, we don't have this competing against us anymore. You want our product, you're going to pay for it.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
So just saying. But no, you're right, Bruce, because on a micro scale, I face the exact same thing. People think that in the gear making business, I can just hire 50 people, go buy 15 sewing machines, and just be pumping out gear. It don't work that way.
It doesn't happen in a week. It doesn't happen in a month.
It don't happen in years. Because at the top, you got to have this. And it doesn't matter how big the company is, it's still got to have X amount of money to be able to expand to do that. And some people don't understand the logistical costs of ramping something up or expanding something, I don't think.
Agreed. And it's so much risk. And of course, that's why I'm a capitalist and believe capitalists should win. Can we all do a timeout and just do a hard left right now? Look at your screen. Why is it that Brent looks like a Chicago Blue Man Group member? He's got this blue face. He's I'm like, he's Stalin-esque here. Like, what are you going to take over?
He's the most popular guy here with the poorest quality cam that we got.
He's what it is. He's just, as he sits there, he unconsciously slowly drifts back into first sergeant mode, and he's just kind of.
He's just watching over the flock in the background, waiting just to tell somebody to push.
He's waiting to pounce. He's just waiting to pounce.
I was wondering why he was smiling. It's easy. He's got coffee. That's why.
I actually brought my old lady's not in the house right now, so I brought the whole pot up here, so I didn't have to call on my live stream winch to come refill my cup.
And that is why you made first sergeant right there. It's that kind of outside the box thinking, because.
So, I got a funny story. So she actually tuned in and watched the live stream last time from downstairs, right? And I was drinking beers, and I can't remember if it was my second or third beer, but she saw me actually turn my head and look down the hallway that's off to my right, and she came up and gave me a beer without me saying anything. I said, "How'd you know I was out?" She's like, "I saw you on the live stream. Look for me."
That's your woman right there.
Hey, John.
Hey, she's a good piece of gear.
Brent's got his own Sherpa.
Nice.
Yeah. I should have brought the whole pot, because mine's already long gone, and it sure would be good right about now. So thanks for rubbing it in.
I've got mine keeping my my whiskey and Coke refilled. This is my third. Come over here, babe. Say hello. Hello. Yeah, just get over here.
Wow, there you
She's
go.
like, I don't have my hair fixed. She's like, I don't have my makeup on. Come on. You're taking up time on the feet. Get over here.
Yeah, I didn't do my hair and makeup this time either.
This is my No, this is a family show. This is my drink maker, my bartender. Get out of here.
That's a family show.
What did I tell y'all at the beginning? If Bruce is here, it ain't a family show.
Sorry, everybody. She didn't get the memo. You didn't get the memo? She didn't get the memo.
Oh, man. Well, is there anything else, fellas? I think we beat this.
No, let me touch on something I've been watching in the comment section. Not everybody. A lot of people are flipping out because we were spending time talking about other world events. Guys, you got to understand, there's lots of stuff to talk about, and we can only talk about so many things in one session. We're not ignoring the domestic stuff. We're not ignoring what's going on, but you can't talk about everything.
Right. We got to kind of pick a hot topic and try to cover it. We're not going to please everybody all the time. And it's certainly not that we're not focused on domestic issues.
Ignoring it.
You guys know we're focused on domestic issues. That's like our number one priority, right? Yeah. You guys should know that about everyone that's here. We're Americans first. And that I can speak for every one of these guys. I know that as a fact.
And some of you are trying to bait for stuff in the comment section. Yeah, some of the stuff y'all want, and you already know we ain't going to talk about on a freaking live stream. So just don't even go there.
Nice try.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just want to throw out, man.
The whole reason we did the original live stream is because, I left some blood, sweat, and tears over there in the sands of Afghanistan. So, it's pretty personal to me, and I needed to talk about it. And there's nothing better to talk about it than with like-minded individuals and people that confine in and stuff. So that's why that's a big sticking point. I realize that some of you, especially those that didn't go over there, don't give a fuck. Well, hey, it means something to me. I spent a significant portion of my life in both Afghanistan and Iraq, and I care deeply about it and the people I served with over there, as well as my Afghan allies that I fought alongside over there. So. Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to shut everybody.
No, Brent,
well said, friend.
I'll ask you this question, Brent. I think a lot of people that follow you know that you and I both have a love for Vietnam and the Vietnam War, and that influenced both of us, and probably you in your encouragement to join the U.S. military and serve in the U.S. military. Did you ever think that you would be feeling those emotions that probably many of our Vietnam vets felt at the fall of Saigon?
Oh man, 100%. I never would have thought that, especially after seeing essentially the success story that Iraq eventually turned into. I thought Afghanistan was well on its way, and to see this happen, it's just like I said in the first stream, it's a swift kick in the ball sack. So.
Yeah. It's a very personal betrayal. It's felt very personal.
Yeah.
It just shows you though, and I get, obviously we learned the lesson in Vietnam. The troops on the ground can win the fighting, but the Paul's back in the rear can lose the war regardless.
How true. And once again, the saying, like from Vietnam, every Marine, sailor, airman that fought in Vietnam can make the claim. We were winning when I left, and same for everybody who went to Afghanistan. They can all say that too.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
What's our closing topic, guys? I know we got one before we call it quits.
That's a long list, and it's hard to choose from.
Throw one out there, John.
How about this? We'll just kick this around, and maybe we'll find a good stopping point after this. Let's go around the horn, because like I said at the very beginning, if you've been watching this long, every single guy in here has his own respective YouTube channel. So I'll kick it over to Bruce, and we'll just go clockwise. Tell us what's on the blotter for your next video.
Well, so I can easily do that. So I actually have a video that is 99% ready for release. It's been about 2 years in the making, but it is dealing with barrel harmonics and how much they matter. Where I actually take a SCAR 17 18 that is scoped, and we rest the barrel on a log at different points of the barrel and fired at different ranges to find out how much those barrel harmonics, by disrupting those barrel harmonics, how much that they affect the range of that rifle. And that's going to be an interesting video. And secondly, Brent and I right now are in the planning stages, and we're about to execute a LRP, Vietnam era LRP, long range reconnaissance patrol, long range patrol loadout in terms of gear, equipment, weapons that were used by LRP teams in Vietnam. We know that's going to be super popular. So those are the two things that are on my agenda in the near future.
So for me, before I get into mine, Bruce, get with me. I don't know if Brent's told you, but my uncle was a LRP in the Rangers in Vietnam. He's already watched some of y'all's stuff. He can probably give you some good info, advice, whatnot. I'll get with him. We'll try to work out a way. Maybe we can do a little private deal and y'all can talk to him a little bit and get a little feedback.
Absolutely, because I'm actually looking for and have secured one actually LRP vet to use almost as technical advisors on the video that we can reference back to and say, hey, we got this right, and these were our technical advisors, and I will take you up on that offer.
Yeah, he knows his stuff. He knows his stuff. He's somebody I draw a lot of inspiration from, put it that way. What do I got coming up? I recently put up a couple of medical related videos. I've got some more of those coming up because I don't think it's paid attention to enough. Right. I've got something right here that kind of involves some stringy stuff, but that'll be a secret until I get it ready to do. I mentioned in a previous video a while back, I've got a AR build that I'm putting together. That's kind of my own personal ultimate. That word gets thrown around too much, but into the world AR build. I have planned and drawn up a couple of really good scenario videos. I just got to get all the people together because unfortunately it's not as easy for me to get everybody together to like it is for y'all to be in the same place at the same time to record the scenario videos I want to do. I've got a couple more camouflage videos. I'm late to the party on this one. I still got to do a tiger stripe video. I know Brent's already done 1 or 2 or 3 of those, but I got some old school tiger stripe back I got to do. And then a buddy of mine, and I don't have any handy to show you, a buddy at 0241 Tactical has got a pattern that he's been doing that I'm trying to secure some stuff up to do a camo video on. And if I can, I'm going to try to get some for Brent so he can do the same on his end. So that's kind of the bulk of what I got lined up. It's just a matter of finding time to do it and getting all the stars to line up right.
My turn. Oh. It feels like a fireside chat. I'm your president. All right. So things in the, let's talk long-term. Long-term is that, and it's really long-term, and that is that about 16 months ago, I handed off to the Lightning Press the next in the OP4 series books. So the OP4 series 3, which is Red Team Armies, has been out. In fact, it's in its 2nd edition now. I think it's been out 9 years. And so what was supposed to happen was I was actually well into what we were calling at the time Insurgent and Guerrilla Warfare, the SMART book, but we wound up calling it the Hybrid Threat. And that was put on the kibosh because of the Ukrainian situation. So the Army needed, the Army and Special Forces, they said, hey, we need these Red Team stuff. Let's give us the Red Team Army tactics and operations. So that's what we wrote. And I got to spearhead that. But the insurgent war fighting sat in the back burner because it just wasn't seen as, in 2011, 2012, wasn't seen as the hot topic. So finally, I handed that off to him 18 months ago. we are waiting for the disaster with APHIS and COVID and all this other stuff that just ravished the book industry. We're waiting for that to clean up, but I'm hoping by the end of this year we'll see OPT 4.2 hybrid threat, and that will cover insurgencies, guerrilla war fighting. It will cover crime cartels. It will cover terrorist organizations. So look for that coming out. That's the next book coming out. As I've already said, here at the end of September, we have the 40th year anniversary for One Shepherd. And beyond that, just beyond that, I'm really working with Les, Pegasus Test Group. Les has a company called Polaris Training and Simulations. So we are doing some like 30-hour simulation. This is all miles-based, blank, force-on-force simulations. And he's going to start with the low-hanging fruit for him up in the Appalachian Mountains, but we don't care where we go from there. We're looking out at the Sierra Nevadas on the West Coast. And you'll have to really kind of follow Pegasus Test for more information on that. But I certainly am helping him as the measle writer and in one of the material support companies. And then my own channel. Yeah. So, God, guys, everything's been happening. I mean, it's been one shakeup after another. The next one I want to get back to small unit tactics. And so look for a deliberate attack here in the next week or two, a video on deliberate attack, small unit perspectives. We'll jump into there. And besides that, again, working with Pegasus Test, what we want to do is we actually want to start doing some real rudimentary applied statistics for everything from, he just did one. He actually did, look for that to come out with a World War II bolt action rifle drill called snap shooting. It was a UK British Army thing. And we really started comparing different weapon platforms, weapon optics, irons, and so just looking at just a preliminary look, we're going to go deeper in there, is the plan over the next year or two, to just present once in a while some statistical analysis of different fighting systems. That can be optics, it can be weapons, it can be gear related, and really trying to give you some hard data. Even in the preliminary one that we just did, there were some aha moments. Things that the high-end dollar, high dollar gear that we expected in snap shooting to do well, that frankly didn't perform as well as some of the low-end cost stuff. So some aha moments, and we're going to explore that more. That's what we got coming down the pipe.
All right. Well, Chris gave me a great segue there, so I hope I can make the most out of this. So next Friday, the next video I got come out is called British Advanced Snap Shooting. And hope you all check it out. As a primer, though, go over to Bloke on the Range and check out his channel. It's a video he did a couple years ago about how the British did this original snap shooting program, and it's very informative. And when I watched that video, I was like, wow, I think that would be a very hard drill even now in the modern day with modern equipment. And as Chris said, we got some very interesting results out of doing this drill. So I hope everybody checks it out. The video premiere this Friday. Beyond that, other videos that I have planned to come out, of course, be covering One Shepherd 40th anniversary, and I'll be doing coverage of both Finnish brutality and desert brutality shooting contests, and just doing more gear tests along the way as well.
All right. You guys see me? I turned on my spotlight for y'all.
He's not blue.
Yeah. So I've got a night vision video I'm working on from AGM company. It's over 2 night vision optics that I got. I've been working on that for a minute. It's very complicated and a lot of time and consuming things. So I'm still putting that together. That's probably going to be my next one coming down the pipe. As Bruce already mentioned, got the LERP video in the works. Looking forward to that one. I also got this primary arms event that's going down in Houston. It's kind of a closed vendor-only type event. They invited myself and anybody I wanted to take to it. So my buddy Ken's going to go down there with me, and we're just going to walk around. I'm probably going to film whatever's going on down there and might put something up about that. So I don't know too much about it, so I don't want to promise a video, but I'll see what I can do. I've got a couple primary arms prisms that I still need to film with. It's been hot as hell. So going out there and shooting out in the blazing sun for hours on end hasn't been the most insightful thing to do recently, but that's obviously still coming down a pipe as well. And then, as Les said, a 40th anniversary is coming up, and I look forward to that. I will be there the whole week, so if you got a ticket spot for that, I'll see you down there. So that's going to be an outstanding event with the air assault and everything else. And just going to want to give a shout out to Chris real quick. He's got some books, in case you guys don't know. But he's got 2 books that are, if you're going to be attending one Shepherd semester, I highly suggest that you get these 2 books. You can get them on Amazon. Are they still on Amazon, Chris?
Yeah, they are.
So, but anyways, those are good reference. If you're going to be looking attending a one Shepherd semester in the future, make sure you check those out. So that's pretty much all I got, Phyllis. Any comments?
What's your YouTube channel under, Chris?
Oh, I think it's just Christopher Larsen. I think that's all it is.
When you search that, there's about 200 channels named Christopher Larsen.
Oh, is there? Crap.
Yeah.
Well, I'm the one that's good looking.
Just comment in the comments below after Brent ends the video, and then everybody can follow that to go to your channel.
Oh, well, I appreciate that. Yeah, thanks. I haven't even figured out how to write in this comment, because if I did, I would have just been like talking back to people. But yeah, let me do that. Yeah, send us a message.
If you type in the search, I'm getting some echo here.
Mm-hmm.
If you type in the YouTube search, Christopher Larsen, Korean War, one of the videos will pop up. I had to do that recently because of that very thing. There's a hundred Larsen.
And everybody's like, Korean War, he does have silver hair. Yeah, I joined the Army when Christ was still a corporal. Not that old.
You have to do a video on sword tactics at some point.
Bruce, you bastard. All right, fine.
Guilty.
All right, fellas. Well, I think that's it. I think it was a good stream. That's Pop Smoke. Let's call it quits.
Pop Smoke, baby.
Right. Appreciate everybody tuning in.
All right. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in.
Yep. Thank you.